What if I told you that some of the strongest marriages, the ones that have lasted 50 or even 60 years, often begin to crumble right at the moment most people expect them to be the safest? After decades of building a family, paying off homes, and raising children, couples imagine their 70s as a reward. Days of peace, companionship, and rest. Yet for many, those same years bring silence at the dinner table, resentment in daily routines, and sometimes even separation. This is the part of life no one talks about, the hidden fracture that appears when the noise of work and parenting finally fades away. Wisdom beyond 60, dear everyone. This is where the story turns. When retirement removes the distractions, couples see each other more clearly than ever. What was once tolerable in small doses becomes overwhelming when there is no break, no office hours, no school schedules to pull them apart for a while. The very closeness they once longed for can feel like a cage. And here's the unsettling truth. Marriages after 70 rarely collapse because love has disappeared. They collapse because unspoken frustrations, rigid habits, and neglected emotions finally come to the surface, demanding attention. Imagine a couple who has shared the same home for decades. For years, one partner managed the rhythm of the household while the other focused on work. Suddenly, those roles blur. The retired husband spends long hours at home, unknowingly disrupting the order his wife built. What seems small, like how the laundry is folded or where the coffee mugs are placed, becomes a battlefield of control. Add to this the challenges of aging bodies, financial anxieties, and the quiet fear of mortality, and the marriage can start to tremble under the weight. But here's the question worth asking. Is this collapse inevitable? Or is it simply the result of hidden mistakes that couples never recognized, never addressed, never dared to confront? The shocking reality is that the strongest marriages aren't those that coast into old age untouched. They are the ones that learn, even after 70, how to rebuild, renegotiate, and rediscover each other. Without that effort, history alone cannot hold two people together. And that is why you must stay with me through this entire video, because we are about to explore the 4 hidden mistakes most couples make after 70, mistakes that quietly undermine even the deepest bonds. By the end, you may look at your own relationship or the marriage of someone you love with new eyes. What you learn today could change the rest of your story. Before we go further, I ask you to support this channel by subscribing. Every subscription tells us that these conversations matter, that you want more content designed to bring clarity, comfort, and wisdom to life after 60. Your encouragement is what allows Beyond 60 Wisdom to keep creating and sharing insights that touch the heart. Now let me leave you with a thought to spark your reflection and invite you to join the conversation. Imagine this. If a marriage after 70 feels strained, which do you believe is more dangerous? A. Holding on to silent resentments that have built up for years. B. Losing the personal space and independence each partner needs to breathe. Comment your answer below, A or B, and tell us why. Your perspective may be exactly what another person needs to hear today. After the shock of realizing that many marriages collapse not at the beginning, but after 70, let's step back and take a clearer look. Why does this happen? Why do relationships that seem unshakable for decades suddenly begin to crack when the children are grown, the bills are paid, and life should feel settled? The answer is not as simple as love fades or people change. The truth is far more subtle, and that's what makes it so dangerous. At this stage of life, 3 major shifts collide. The first is retirement. For years, work provided structure, distance, and even distraction. Husbands and wives lived in separate rhythms for much of the day, reconnecting in the evenings. Retirement erases that distance. Now 2 people share every hour, every room, every decision. For some couples, this closeness feels comforting. For others, it becomes suffocating. Small quirks that were easy to overlook in the past can feel unbearable when there is no break. The second shift is health. Even if both partners are relatively strong, the awareness of the body's limits grows louder. Doctors' visits, medications, and daily aches remind them that life is no longer limitless. This shift doesn't only bring physical strain, it often sparks fear, frustration, and hidden resentment. One partner may feel guilty for being a burden, while the other may feel trapped in the role of caregiver. These feelings are rarely spoken out loud, but they eat away at the foundation of intimacy. The third shift is financial. By 70, many couples are living on fixed incomes. Savings, pensions, and benefits may not stretch as far as they hoped. Tensions rise over spending, inheritance, and long-term planning. Even couples who never argued about money before can find themselves clashing. And here's where the story takes its unique turn. Financial strain at this age is not only about dollars. It often symbolizes security, dignity, and legacy. Disagreements over money mask deeper anxieties about control and identity. What most people overlook is that these three shifts, retirement, health, and finances, don't destroy marriages on their own. What destroys them is the lack of adaptation. Couples assume that because they've survived 50 years together, they will automatically survive the next 20. They underestimate how much the rules of the game have changed. They keep playing with old strategies in a new field, and the result is silent frustration that eventually breaks open. Here's the deeper perspective many miss. Marriages after 70 aren't tested by passion or by the challenges of raising children. They are tested by the ability to renegotiate life itself. Who controls the daily schedule? Who takes responsibility when health weakens? How much freedom does each partner keep for themselves? These are not small details. They are the blueprint for whether two people grow old together or grow apart. And here lies the hidden truth. Many couples fail not because they stop loving each other, but because they never stop to ask, what does our marriage need to look like now? They never create a new agreement for this new season of life. They try to live in the shadow of the past when what they really need is a fresh foundation. The tragedy is not that marriages collapse, it's that they collapse quietly, while both people sit in the same house, under the same roof, wondering what went wrong. This is why it's so important to pay attention to the small things that are so often ignored. It's not about one big fight or one dramatic betrayal. It's about the little cracks, silent resentments, unspoken fears, rigid routines that accumulate until the bond finally gives way. If we can see those cracks early, if we can understand the hidden forces at work, then we can protect what truly matters. Because the end of a marriage at 70 is rarely the end of love. It is the result of neglect, of failing to adapt, of missing the chance to grow new roots in a new stage of life. And so the question becomes, will you and your partner continue to live on autopilot, assuming history will hold you together? Or will you take the brave step of rewriting the rules so your love can not only survive, but flourish in the years ahead? That choice, more than anything else, is what separates couples who thrive after 70 from those who quietly fall apart. Picture a couple in their 70s sitting together in the same living room they have shared for decades. The children's voices are gone, the daily rush of work and school schedules has faded, and what remains is just the two of them. At first glance, it looks peaceful, but look closer. The silence between them is heavy, not comfortable. She is in the kitchen, moving about in the rhythm she has built over a lifetime, and he sits in the chair he once returned to after long workdays. Now, instead of being apart for hours, they are in constant proximity. Every step, every sigh, every comment lands with double the weight, because there is no break, no distance, no chance to cool off before the next encounter. What once seemed like quirks have become irritations, and what once was overlooked is now magnified. This is the reality of many marriages after 70. It isn't about one dramatic fight or one big betrayal. It's about the slow accumulation of small moments that erode the bond. The unspoken resentments that were buried under decades of busyness start to surface. The habits that felt normal now feel intrusive. A husband who once had his identity wrapped in work may now hover, unintentionally disrupting the routines his wife has carefully maintained. A wife who once dreamed of more companionship may now feel crowded, longing for personal space she never realized she needed so deeply. These are not failures of character. They are the natural consequences of entering a new season without a new understanding. Consider the mornings. He wakes early, expecting coffee to be ready as it always was, while she feels exhausted from being on call as caregiver during the night. That single expectation can spark frustration that lingers all day. Or think about the evenings. She may want to watch her favorite show, while he insists on the news. Neither issue is catastrophic, but stacked together day after day, these tiny disagreements build a wall of distance. They stop talking, stop laughing, stop listening. And the marriage that looked solid to outsiders begins to wither in private. There is another layer that makes this even harder: the weight of unacknowledged sacrifice. One partner may feel that years of dedication were never truly seen or appreciated. At 70, when time feels shorter and every year more precious, those old sacrifices press harder on the heart. A wife might recall the opportunities she gave up to raise children. A husband might feel that his decades of labor were taken for granted. These memories come back in quiet moments, often unspoken but deeply felt, adding to the distance between them. And yet, it is precisely here, inside these ordinary, unnoticed moments, that the fate of the marriage is decided. The collapse of a lifelong partnership doesn't happen in courtrooms or lawyers' offices first. It begins at the dinner table when the silence grows too long. It begins in the bedroom when conversations fade into routine. It begins in the everyday spaces of life where connection is replaced by distance. If you recognize these moments, you are not alone. Many couples face them, though few talk about it openly. The truth is, these small cracks do not have to become permanent fractures, but they cannot be ignored. Pretending everything is fine, sweeping frustrations under the rug, or clinging to old patterns is what allows the relationship to rot quietly from within. A marriage after 70 requires new eyes, new ears, and new effort. Without that, even the strongest history can dissolve in the silence of an ordinary day. So the real question is this: when you notice the silence growing, will you let it expand until it swallows your bond? Or will you dare to speak, to listen, and to rebuild? Because in the end, it is not the years that destroy a marriage. It is the moments when two people stop reaching for each other. There are 4 hidden mistakes that quietly erode marriages after 70. Mistakes that often go unnoticed until the damage is nearly impossible to ignore. The first is the weight of unspoken resentments. For decades, couples may have carried frustrations silently, sacrifices unacknowledged, disappointments brushed aside, feelings swallowed to keep the peace. In the rush of raising children and building careers, there was always something else to focus on. But when life slows down and the distractions fade, those old wounds begin to resurface. They don't come back as fiery arguments. They show up as distance, sarcasm, or withdrawal. A husband who feels he was never appreciated for working long hours may grow bitter. A wife who feels her sacrifices were overlooked may lose her desire to invest in the relationship. Without recognition and repair, these resentments become poison, spreading quietly through the bond. The second mistake is clinging to old roles. In earlier years, households often ran on clearly divided responsibilities. But once retirement arrives, the script must change. Yet many partners resist this shift. A man accustomed to authority in the workplace may unconsciously bring that same dominance into a home already balanced around his wife's rhythms. A woman who managed the household alone for decades may find her partner's constant presence disruptive. These role clashes are rarely about chores themselves. They are about identity, respect, and control. Couples who cannot renegotiate their partnership for this new stage often find themselves locked in daily power struggles that drain affection and erode trust. The third mistake is neglecting emotional evolution. Emotional needs at 70 are not the same as they were at 30 or 40. The desire for intimacy now often takes the form of being heard, understood, and accompanied in life's most vulnerable moments. Yet many couples assume that silence equals stability, that simply being together is enough. This is where marriages quietly unravel. A wife may long for her husband's curiosity, for his willingness to listen rather than dismiss. A husband may yearn for recognition, not just for what he once provided, but for who he is in the present. When these needs go unmet, partners begin to feel invisible, and invisibility in marriage is as painful as abandonment. The fourth mistake is the loss of personal space. Many couples believe that closeness means doing everything together, but this can suffocate a relationship. Personal space is not rejection, it is renewal. Without it, individuality fades and resentment takes its place. A partner who once enjoyed gardening may feel guilty for wanting solitude outside. Another who loved reading quietly may feel pressured to socialize constantly. In trying to merge every moment, couples inadvertently destroy the balance that sustains genuine intimacy. A strong marriage is not two people living as one shadow. It is two complete individuals choosing, again and again, to walk side by side. Each of these mistakes on its own may seem small, almost harmless, but together they form a silent storm. They don't appear overnight. They build slowly, through years of avoidance, habit, and misunderstanding. The tragedy is that none of them are inevitable. Resentments can be acknowledged and healed. Roles can be renegotiated with respect. Emotional needs can be spoken and met with care. Space can be granted without fear. But if couples ignore these truths, the marriage that has stood for decades can crumble not with a bang, but with a quiet drifting apart. What holds a marriage after 70 is not the weight of history, but the willingness to adapt, to listen, and to rebuild. The couples who thrive are not the ones who never made mistakes, but the ones who recognized them, addressed them, and transformed them into lessons. Because in the end, love that endures is not about avoiding problems. It is about facing them together, even when the years are heavy and time feels fragile. A marriage that reaches the age of 70 years old is a rare and remarkable journey. Yet even the strongest partnerships cannot survive on history alone. The truth is, time does not guarantee closeness. What matters most is the ability to keep choosing each other, even when the years feel heavy and the patterns of life have hardened. If the earlier years of marriage were about building homes, families, careers, the later years are about preserving and renewing. This is the stage where couples must decide whether they will simply coexist or truly live together with meaning and connection. The path forward begins with conversation. Honest, unguarded conversation is the antidote to decades of silence. Not the quick exchanges about groceries or appointments, but real dialogue, where one partner listens with patience and the other speaks with trust. At 70, there is little time left for guessing games. Saying, "I feel lonely when you ignore me," or "I need more appreciation for what I do," is not a sign of weakness. It is the foundation of survival. Couples who open their mouths and their hearts often rediscover a closeness they thought was gone. Equally important is the gift of space. Love is not measured by constant presence, but by the quality of being together. Allowing each other to pursue hobbies, friendships, or even a quiet walk alone preserves individuality. Ironically, it is this space that often brings couples closer, because it prevents suffocation and fosters respect. When partners return to each other after moments apart, they bring new energy and stories, keeping the relationship alive rather than stagnant. Another powerful shift comes from practicing gratitude. At this stage, it is easy to focus on regrets, what was lost, what was never achieved, what could have been different. But couples who thrive after 70 choose to notice what remains. A gentle touch, a shared laugh, a memory of raising children together. These are treasures that cannot be measured by money or time. Gratitude reframes the relationship from one of scarcity to one of abundance. And when you look at your partner and say, "I'm thankful for you," you remind both of you why the marriage still matters. Forgiveness also plays a critical role. After decades, no marriage is free of mistakes. Words said in anger, moments of neglect, or old wounds can resurface late in life. The couples who survive are not those without scars, but those who learn to forgive. Not to erase the past, but to release its hold. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting. It means deciding that your bond is more important than the grudge. Without it, resentment festers. With it, love has the chance to breathe again. Finally, the greatest secret to lasting love after 70 is curiosity. Curiosity keeps the marriage young, even when the body grows old. Ask your partner new questions. Learn something about them you never knew. Show interest in their thoughts, their dreams, even their fears. When curiosity is alive, the relationship never stagnates. It evolves. And in that evolution, couples find new reasons to stay, new joys to share, and new strength to face the years ahead together. So here is the heart of it all. Marriages do not collapse after 70 because love disappears. They collapse because partners stop doing the small things that keep love alive. They stop talking, they stop giving space, they stop showing gratitude, they stop forgiving, and they stop being curious. If you want your marriage to endure, these are the choices you must make every single day. Because even in the later years, love is not something you simply have. It is something you continue to build. And for those who are willing to build, the golden years can truly shine. When we step back and look at the full picture, it becomes clear that marriages collapsing after 70 are not a matter of fate, but of choice. Time alone does not keep two people together, nor does history guarantee happiness. What keeps a bond alive is the willingness to adapt, to speak honestly, to forgive, and to create space for love to breathe in this new chapter of life. After decades of living side by side, it is easy to believe that everything should run on autopilot. Yet the truth is, every stage of life demands fresh effort. The mistakes that most couples make, silent resentments, clinging to old roles, neglecting emotional needs, and suffocating each other's independence, are not unavoidable. They are simply signs that the marriage needs renewal, not abandonment. For older adults, this message holds a powerful lesson. Even at 70 or 80, your marriage is not finished. It is still being written. You have the power to shift the story from one of distance to one of closeness. The years you've already lived together are not just history, they are resources of wisdom and resilience. By choosing to communicate openly, by showing gratitude for the smallest gestures, by respecting personal space, and by nurturing curiosity about one another, you can breathe new life into the bond. It is never too late to say thank you, to listen more deeply, or to start again with a softer heart. For many seniors, the fear is that change at this age is impossible. But change does not require grand acts. It begins with a simple conversation at the dinner table, a gentle word before bed, or an act of kindness that says, "I see you." These small steps, repeated daily, can rebuild trust and warmth more effectively than any dramatic gesture. Think of marriage not as a finished house, but as a living garden. If neglected, weeds will grow. But with care, even in late seasons, flowers can bloom again. The lesson here is simple but profound. The later years of marriage are not a burden, but a gift. A chance to rediscover each other with a depth and tenderness that was not possible in the busy years of raising children and building careers. Embrace this stage as an opportunity, not a sentence. Apply it in your own life by asking one question each day. What can I do today to make my partner feel valued? That single practice can transform not only your marriage, but your own sense of peace and fulfillment. Now I would like to hear from you. If you had to choose just one, which do you believe is more important for keeping love alive after 70? Is it open communication, or is it giving each other personal space? Please comment your answer below and let others learn from your perspective. And if this video has spoken to you, if it has given you comfort, clarity, or inspiration, I invite you to support our community. If you found this message meaningful, please subscribe to the channel, share your thoughts in the comments, and pass it along to your friends so they too can reflect and grow. At Beyond 60 Wisdom, we are here to walk beside you every day, to listen, to learn, and to keep creating videos that matter. Your presence and your encouragement are the reason we do this. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for being here. Thank you for your wisdom, and thank you for letting us be part of your journey.